What if I told you that by the end of this video, you could have your own web application running online with real user accounts, file uploads, and a proper database? All that completely free without writing a single line of code. A lot of people are using AI to build static websites right now, but building a real web application is a different story. You need things like authentication, storage, databases, and all the pieces working together behind the scenes. And that's where most people get stuck. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the complete process, starting with creating the foundation of our web application inside Google AI Studio. Then we will connect Firebase, which will handle all the back-end functionality for us. Things like user accounts, data storage, and file uploads. Then I will show you how to test your app, troubleshoot common issues using Google AI Studio, and finally deploy it so people can actually use it. If you've never done anything like this before, don't worry. I'll walk you through the entire process step by step. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into it. The first thing we need to do is head over to Google AI Studio. If you never used AI Studio before, you can sign in with your Google account and get it started for free. Once you are inside, click on New App under Vibe Coding. Then before we start, click on Settings and make sure Gemini 3.1 Pro Preview is selected as your model. Now, before I build anything, I want to show you how I normally approach prompts. A lot of people think you need some complicated prompt frameworks. Honestly, I don't. What I usually do is I open ChatGPT or Gemini, turn on voice mode, and simply explain what I'm trying to build in plain English. I just pretend I'm talking to a friend and I tell ChatGPT what the app is for, what problem I'm trying to solve, the main features I would like it to have, and roughly how I wanted it to look like. There is usually a bit of a back and forth while we refine the idea and figure out exactly what the app should do. Then once I'm happy with it, I'll simply say, please turn everything we've discussed so far into a detailed prompt that I can paste directly into AI Studio. For me, that's by far the easiest approach. And the best thing is that you don't need to get everything perfect from the start. If AI Studio misses something, we can always refine it later. Now, one thing I struggled with while planning this tutorial was choosing the right example project, because the goal here isn't to teach you how to build one specific app. The goal is to teach you how to build your own. So I wanted something simple enough to follow along, but realistic enough to show all the important concepts. That's why I decided to build FamilyFlow. My wife and I currently manage all our finances using spreadsheets, and while they work, they are not the most convenient solution. So I wanted to build a simple app that makes tracking our income, our expenses, budgets, and savings much easier. To be able to build something like that, there are 4 things we need. We need user accounts so everyone has their own access to the app. We need a database to store all our financial information. We need file storage for uploading CSV files from the bank. And we need a clean interface that brings everything together. These same building blocks apply to almost every web app you created. Whether it's a finance tracker, a booking system, or something completely different, the process is very similar. So here's the prompt I'm going to use for FamilyFlow. It's a bit long, but it covers everything I want the app to do. So I'll start by saying what the name of the app is. Then I give a bit of a backstory. My wife and I currently track our finances using spreadsheet. I just want to be able to make the process a little easier. The app should allow users to create accounts. They should be able to sign in using Google. We should be able to manually add income and expenses. There will be some built-in categories already on the app, like grocery bills and so on, but we want to be able to create our own as well. We want to be able to upload CSV files. I include some information on how I want the dashboard to look like. Here I've got some extra details on what the app should do, like creating saving goals and budgets, for example. Talk a little bit more about the design, and in the end I tell Gemini to set up everything needed on the back end, including user accounts, database storage, and file uploads. Now, your prompt doesn't have to be this detailed, but if you know exactly what you want, there's no harm in giving AI Studio as much context as possible. The more information you provide, the better the first version of your app is likely to be. Just keep in mind that if it misses something, you can always come back and refine it later. All right, let's go ahead and run this. Depending on your project, this will take a minute or two. One thing you'll notice is that AI Studio now gives you a few different design options to choose from. I can click on the arrows to look at each one of them. They all look good, but for this project, I'm going with professional polish. Let's click continue and let Gemini finish building the app. At some point, you will see this message asking you to enable Firebase. Go ahead and click on it. AI Studio will automatically create a Firebase project, configure the backend, and connect everything to your app. You can actually see Gemini creating all the files here on the left. Looks like it's now applying the professional polish theme we chose previously. All right, looks like our app is ready. Let's take a quick look at it. I'll switch to full screen. And here is the sign-in page. I'll start by signing in with my Google account, select my account, click continue, and we are in. So this is our dashboard where we will see a monthly summary of all our finances. On the left-hand side, we can navigate to transactions, budgets, saving goals, and settings where we manage the categories. It's a fairly simple setup, but that's exactly what I was hoping for. We can also preview the app on different devices. Right now, we are looking at desktop version, but we can switch to mobile if you want to. We can rotate the screen or even view as a tablet mode. I will switch back to desktop view and exit full screen. Now, you might be tempted to jump straight into testing, but before we do that, I want to quickly verify that everything on the back end is configured correctly. So let's open a new tab and go to console.firebase.google.com, link in the description below. Then click on your project. And here we are inside Firebase, where we will manage everything happening behind the scenes of our application. The first thing I want to check is authentication. So on the left-hand side, under security, go to authentication, then click on sign-in method at the top. You will then see a list of different sign-in providers. AI Studio has already enabled Google sign-in for us, which is great. But for FamilyFlow, I also want users to be able to create an account using an email and a password. So click Add New Provider, choose Email Password, enable it. You will also notice there's an option to enable passwordless sign-in. This allows users to log in using a magic link that's sent directly to their email. Once they click the link, they are automatically sign in and redirect to the app. One of the nice things about this method is that it also verifies the user's email address during the sign-in process. Since FamilyFlow is just a personal app for me and my wife, I'm going to leave this disabled for now. Then we'll click Save. And that's it. Now the email and password authentication is enabled. If we go to templates, we can customize the emails that our app sends, such as email verification, password reset, and email address change. For example, here we have the email address verification template. As you can see, you can change the wording if you like, but make sure you don't change any of the placeholders, such as the display name, app name, or verification link. These templates are only used when email and password is enabled as a sign-in method. Next, we have usage, where you can monitor things like your app daily active users. Pretty straightforward. Under settings, you will see a few additional authentication options. I'm not going to cover those in this video, but each one includes a brief explanation and a learn more link where you can explore more if you want to. The only setting we will be changing is authorized domains, but we'll come back to that a little later in this video. Another useful area is extension. This lets you integrate your app with other services like MailChimp for email marketing or Stripe for subscription payments, for example. If you click on Explore, you'll find plenty of other extensions you can add depending on what you're trying to build. Just keep in mind that some of them come at a cost. And finally, under Users, you'll see a list of everyone who has signed up to your app. Next, we need to configure storage. For most applications, Firestore database is used to store and sync structured data. In the case of FamilyFlow, that includes things like transactions, budgets, saving goals, and user settings. Then we have storage down here. This is used whenever your app needs to store files such as images, PDFs, or other uploaded documents. Now, FamilyFlow does include a CSV upload feature, but technically I don't need to keep those CSV files saved once they've been imported. However, I added an uploaded CSV history section on my app that lets users download any CSV they have uploaded in the past. It's not a feature that I personally need, but I thought it would be a good opportunity to show you how to set up Firebase Storage, since it's something you probably need in your own project. So on the left hand side, let's go to storage. The first time you open it, Firebase will probably ask you to upgrade to the Blaze plan. Don't worry, that's completely normal. Firebase requires a billing account before storage can be enabled. But for learning, testing, and small projects, you will almost certainly stay within the free tiers. So go ahead and click Upgrade Project, then select Create a Cloud Billing Account, click Agree and Continue, then click Add Payment Method. Add your card details, and once you're done, click Start Free. After that, Firebase will finish its setting up storage for your project. Now, depending on your payment method, you might see a pop-up asking for a one-time $10 prepayment. This isn't a Firebase charge. It's simply Google verifying your payment method. You will also receive free trial credits, and if you ever close the billing account, that amount is refundable. Next, Firebase will give you the option to set up a billing budget. I would recommend setting something low, like $5 for example. That way, if your usage ever gets close to that amount, Firebase will send you a notification. Think of it like a safety net. Now click Continue, review the details, and click Link Cloud Billing Account. Then just click Done. Once that's finished, Firebase will ask you to create a storage bucket. A bucket is where Firebase store all your uploaded files. It's like a folder in the cloud that holds everything the users upload to the app. In my case here, it will store all CSV files uploaded into my app. Select the no cost location option and click Continue. Then make sure production mode is selected and click Create. Perfect. Your storage bucket is now ready. If we click on the Rules tab at the top, this is where the security rules for your file storage lives. We will need to make some changes here, but first I will head back into AI Studio and let Gemini know what we have configured inside Firebase so far. The easiest way to do that is to simply give it a bit of a context. So I will use a prompt like this. I have configured Firebase as follows. I have enabled email and password authentication as a sign-in option. I have also set up Firebase Storage with a default bucket in production mode. Please make sure user registration, login, CSV uploads, and transaction management are properly connected to Firebase and working as expected. So let's go ahead and send this prompt. What we are really doing here is giving AI Studio visibility into the changes we just made on the back end. Anytime you make changes inside Firebase, it's a good idea to let AI Studio know. That way, it can review the code, verify the connections, and make sure everything is working together properly. Alright, looks like it's done. As you can see, AI Studio has confirmed that authentication, Firestore, and the Firebase storage bucket are all connected. If at any point while you are building your app, you see a message like this, just click Fix. It's fine. AI Studio is just going to fix any problem it finds in the code. In my case, it looks like there was a permission issue with Firebase, but AI Studio resolved it and everything is now connected correctly. The last thing I want to do before we start testing is update the storage bucket rules inside Firebase. When you first created a storage bucket, Firebase usually starts with restricted rules, which means the app may not be able to read or upload files yet. So we need to update those rules properly. Instead of trying to write the rules ourselves, we can ask Gemini to look at our app and generate them based on how files are being used. Here's the prompt I will use. Please scan my code base and check exactly how and where files are being uploaded or read in this app. Based on that usage, generate secured Firebase storage rules. Make sure personal user files are protected so users can only read and write their own data, and any other paths are locked down. Then I will copy the current rule from Firebase, paste them into the prompt, and hit submit. Your storage rules might be slightly different from mine, and that's perfectly fine. Just remember, if you're ever unsure about what your rules should look like, you can always ask Gemini for help. Even if you start with a simple prompt like, based on my app's code base, can you update my Firebase storage rules? Gemini will analyze your project and guide you through the process. So don't feel like you need to understand every detail of these rules before you get started. And here are my new rules. I'll simply copy it, head into Firebase, paste it, and click publish. And that's it. We are done with our backend settings. So here's what we have so far. We have a front end, which is everything the user sees and interacts with. Pages, the buttons, and the overall layout. We have authentication, so users can securely create an account, sign in, and sign out. We have Firestore database, which store all the app's data, including transaction, budget, saving goals, user information, and anything else the app needs to remember. And we also have the Firebase Storage, which is where all of the files that users upload are going to live. In other words, the foundation of our app is now in place. The final step is making sure everything is connected and working properly, because no matter how good the app is, if the data isn't saving properly, it's not much of a use. And the only way to do that is by testing. Every project is different, so the issues I run into probably won't be the same ones you run into, but the process is always the same. Whenever I build something with AI Studio, I like to test the core features first before I worry about any visual change. So for FamilyFlow, that means testing something like creating user accounts. I would create a couple accounts, make sure they appear in Firebase under authentication and users, and verify that the signing process is working correctly. I would also try to sign in with an account that doesn't exist, just to make sure authentication is behaving as expected. I would add and delete a few transactions. I would check that the data is being displayed correctly and make sure it's still there after logging out and back in. I would also verify that each user only sees their own data. Of course, depending on the type of app you are building, you might actually want users to share content with each other, or you just want each user to only access its own data. Then I would test uploading a CSV file. I would check if the transactions are being imported correctly and that I can download previous uploaded CSV files. This would confirm that Firebase Storage is working properly. The idea is to simply use the app the same way a real user would. If something doesn't work, I'll make a note of it. Then I'll head back to AI Studio, describe the issue in plain English, and let it help me fix it. One thing I've found works really well is fixing one issue at a time. That way, each change is focused and you are less likely to break something else in the process. Now, I'm not going to spend the next hour testing every single feature in this app because that would get pretty boring. Instead, I put together this table with a few common issues you might run into and the kind of prompts I would use to fix them. The important thing isn't writing the perfect prompt. It's simply describing the problem as clearly as you can. So let's pretend I've finished testing the app and these are some of my notes. Let's quickly go through a couple examples. Let's say the email password sign up is not creating a user. So I would simply tell AI Studio something like, users can create an account using email and password. Please review the authentication flow, identify what's failing, and update the code so registration works correctly. Another example is if transactions disappear after refreshing the page. That usually tells me that the data isn't being loaded correctly from the database. Again, I don't need to know the technical reason. I would simply say transactions appear after I add them, but disappears when I refresh the page. Please investigate why the data isn't loading correctly from Firestore and fix it. And that's really the workflow I follow. Once you understand this process, you can apply the same approach to almost any app you build with AI Studio. Now, let's say we have tested the core features, fixed all the problems we found, and our app is working the way we want. At this point, you could spend some time polishing the interface. You could change the colors, update the text, tweak the layout, customize pretty much anything you like. I'm not going to cover that in this video because I've already made several tutorials showing how to customize apps inside AI Studio, and the process is exactly the same. I will leave links to some of those videos in the description below if you'd like to explore that later. later. For this tutorial, I really wanted to focus on building a solid backend and getting the app deployed so you can see the complete workflow from start to finish. The nice thing here is that because we'll be using GitHub, you can always come back later, make changes to your app, and those changes will show up automatically on your live website. But we will come back to that in a moment. For now, let's get FamilyFlow online. The first thing we need to do is save the project to GitHub. So click on Share in the top right, then move to the right and select GitHub. If you already have a GitHub account, go ahead and sign in. If not, just follow the steps to create one for free. You can simply use your Google account. Once you are signed in, you'll be prompted to create a repository. A repository is basically where the code for your project lives inside GitHub. I'll call mine FamilyFlow. For the description, I'll just put personal finance tracker, and for visibility, I'll recommend keeping it as private. Then click Create GitHub Repository. Once that's done, scroll down and click Stage and commit all changes. Then you should see a message saying no more change to commit. Perfect. Our project is now safely stored in GitHub and ready to be deployed. Now we need somewhere to host it. Hosting is what makes your app available on the internet so people can actually use it. There are plenty of hosting providers out there, but since I'm trying to keep everything free, I will be using Netlify and their free tier. Netlify lets you publish websites without setting up servers or dealing with complicated configurations. You just need to create a free account with them and you're good to go. You can just use your Google account if you like. Since I already have an account, I'll click on Login instead, choose my account, and I'm in. When you first sign up into Netlify, you will need to create a team, and under this team, you can have multiple projects. Basically, each project is a live site or an app. My team is called Websites and I have 6 projects inside of it. Once you create your team, click on Add New Project. Then under Import a GitHub repository, choose GitHub and sign in to your GitHub account. I'll just continue using Google and select my account. Now we can see a list of repositories. Simply select the one you want to deploy. In my case, FamilyFlow. I'll click on it. Next, choose your Netlify team. Mine is Websites. Then choose the project name, which is the name that will appear as a URL. We can always change it later if you wanted to, and I'll show you how to do that in a bit. So I will enter FamilyFlow. Looks like it's already taken, so let's try FamilyFlow tracker. It's available. Great. Down the bottom, we can leave everything else as is. If we have any environment variables, here's where we would add them. I don't have any, so I'll simply click on Deploy. Now we just need to wait for Netlify to finish deploying our app, and looks like it's done. Let's click on the URL and here's our app live. First thing I'll try to do is sign in with my Google account, and we've got a problem. This is actually a great example because problems like this are completely normal when you're building an app. Instead of guessing what's wrong, let's use the same workflow we use when testing the app. We will pass the problem to AI Studio and let it do the heavy lifting for us. In this case, the problem is that Firebase blocks Google signing from websites that haven't been authorized yet. Since our app is now running on a new Netlify domain, we simply need to add that domain to the list of authorized domains inside Firebase. I actually knew this was going to happen, but I wanted to leave it in because it's a good example of the kind of problems you will run into while building your own app. The important thing is not to memorize every possible error. It's actually knowing how to work through them when they happen. So I'll go back to AI Studio and explain the problem to Gemini in plain English. I'll say something like, I deployed the app on Netlify and I'm getting the following error when I try to log in using Google Sign In. Then I'll paste the error message and hit submit. As you can see, Gemini not only explains what the problem is, but it also gives us the exact steps to fix it. So let's head back into Firebase, go to Authentication, Settings, then Authorize Domains, click Add Domain, and here we paste in our domain from Netlify. And that's it. Now, if we go back to the live app and try signing in again, it should work. Perfectly, we are now in. FamilyFlow is now live on the internet and connected to Firebase. From this point on, you can simply go back into AI Studio, make any changes you like, commit them to GitHub, and your live app will be updated automatically. Let me show you an example. I'll head back to AI Studio and make a simple change. Let's just add an option for dark mode, for example. So I'll use a prompt like this. Please add a button to switch between light and dark mode. I'll hit submit and I'll fast forward while AI Studio makes the changes. All right, it's all done. As you can see, we can now switch between light and dark mode. So we need to go into share, then GitHub. Here we can see all the changes AI Studio made. I'll click stage and commit all changes. Perfect. There's no more change to commit. Because Netlify is connected directly to our GitHub repository, it will automatically start deploying the latest version of our app. This usually takes less than a minute. So let's head back to the live site and refresh the page, sign in again, and here it is. Perfect. Our new dark mode is now live. Before we wrap up, let me quickly show you how to change the URL of your app inside Netlify. I'm back into Netlify here, so I will open my FamilyFlow project. Once I'm inside, I go to project configuration, then change project name. This is where you can change the name of your project, which updates the first part of your Netlify URL. The part.netlify.app cannot be changed, unfortunately. If you want a custom domain, you will need to purchase one. You can either buy a domain from another provider and connect it to Netlify, or purchase one directly through Netlify. To do that, go to domain management and click add a domain. From here, you have two options. If you don't own a domain yet, select buy a domain, search for the name you want, check the available options and pricing, then complete the purchase. If you already own a domain, simply choose add a domain you already own, enter your domain, and just follow the steps to verify ownership. And that's it. Once your domain is connected, your app will be available using your own custom web address instead of the default .netlify.app URL. And that's it. In this video, we built a complete web application from scratch using Google AI Studio, Firebase, GitHub, and Netlify. We created user accounts, connect a real database, configure file storage, deploy the app to the internet, and even learn how to troubleshoot and fix common issues along the way. The best part is that you can build this entire project using the free tiers of these platforms. Google AI Studio has a very generous free tier, and it's actually quite difficult to hit the daily limit. But if you do, simply wait 24 hours and continue building the next day. Firebase also has a generous free tier. For personal use like FamilyFlow, it's more than enough, but if you eventually decide to launch your app and it start getting real users, you will eventually start to pay. Honestly, I think that's a good problem to have because it means people are actually using what you have built. Netlify's free tier is also more than enough. The only limit you might run into is the number of deployment. If that happens, you will need to wait until your monthly allowance resets. That's why I usually recommend only committing changes to GitHub once you are happy with them. Once your project is connected through to GitHub, every new commit will automatically trigger a new deployment. So it's worth keeping those deployments for meaningful updates. What I really hope you take away from this video isn't just how to build a finance tracker. FamilyFlow is really just an example. The bigger lesson here is understanding the process, because once you know how to build an app like this, you can use the exact same workflow to create pretty much anything. The AI tools are getting very powerful these days. And honestly, I think we are at a point where the biggest limitation is no longer technical skills. It's simply having a clear idea of what you want to build. So my advice is don't overthink it. Pick a problem you like to solve, start small, build the first version, and then improve it over time. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.